today's episode. So let's head over to DaVinci Resolve and let's get cracking. So here we are in DaVinci Resolve. This is the clip that we are going to be using today. It's a girl on the beach. We've got quite a bit of breakage here in the highlights because this is a Rec.709 image. What we are going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at this side here, which is quite darker than the rest of the image. And there is also a splodge around about here that plays on screen. I don't know what that is or where that's come from this clip. This clip is from Artgrid, but this is something that we're going to be looking at removing as well, all in the color page. So let's head down to our scopes. You can see we've got a little bit more of a lift on the right hand side than the left hand side. What we want to do is we just want to balance out the left hand side of the image. Before we do that, what we need to do is we need to convert our Rec.709 out to an intermediate space. And as per usual, we're going to be working in DaVinci Intermediate. So all we need to do is come over to here to our color space transform. We need to drag that onto our node. And then let's go over to our input color space, input gamma, and that's going to be a Rec.709 gamma 2.4. So we're just going to scroll down to find 2.4. And as we mentioned, we're going to go out to a DaVinci Wide Gamut and a DaVinci Intermediate, which is just here. So we're going to come across to our node, we're going to right click, we're going to add a node, add a serial, and we're going to take this across to the right hand side of this node tree. So now we're going to come over to here, we're going to right click, we're going to copy that, we're not going to right click, we're going to copy this, we're going to come over to this node over here, we're going to click on that, and we are going to paste that here, and you can see that the image has got a lot worse. However, in order to combat that, we just need to come over to here to this swap button, press that, and now we have a normalized image. So let's just turn these off and on, and you can see there is no change to this image. As mentioned in other videos, this space in here will be a DaVinci Intermediate, DaVinci Wide Gamut space. However, because we are converting from a Rec.709 shot, we do have that gamma curve baked in, so we do need to be a little bit mindful and a little bit careful. Okay, great. So let's go ahead. Let's add a few nodes. I always like to start with these three. So we're going to right click, add serial, like so, and let's just label these. So this first one is going to be exposure, this second one here is going to be contrast, and this third and final one here is going to be our color, like so. There's lots of talk on the internet about order of operation and what node should go where. This is right, this is wrong, you should do this, you should do that. In reality, what you should actually start thinking about is where the nodes should be for the particular clip that you are working on. So usually what I would do is I would actually put any power windows after my primary adjustments, and that is because I want to make sure that there is a gradient on the grade I've already made from those primaries. However, because in this clip we are wanting to make a change in the luminance level before we do any grading, it means that our power window will need to go before our primaries. So what we're going to do is we're just going to select these, we're going to roll these across like that, we're going to right click, we're going to go to here, add node, add serial, and this is going to be our power window. So now we need to come down to our power windows, which is just here. We're going to click on that, and now we're going to come down to our gradient, which is this bar here, and we're just going to click that. Now what you'll see here is that you've got a line and an arrow coming down here, and what this essentially means is any adjustments that we make, it's full strength up until this line, and then it goes out to 0 with this gradient arrow here. So we're going to take this, we're going to roll this across to the left hand side of the image, and we're just going to drag this out like that. Let's straighten that up slightly because it's a little bit ski with. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come down to our offset, which is just down here, and we're going to roll this up this way. So let's go ahead and do that. And what you will see on the scopes over here is this is the left hand side raising up. So let's just roll that up very slightly, and we're also looking at the screen as well to make sure that that is where we want it to be. So let's just turn that off and on. And you can see that we have quickly and easily normalized this image. We're going to leave our exposure because I quite like the amount of exposure and the luminance levels that we've got. So we've got quite a low dark point, we've got quite good dynamic range going up to here, and we've got a little bit of room in the highlights, although you can see we've got quite a lot of clipping, and this is noted in the side of her face. So but what we'll do is let's go across to our exposure, let's come down to our contrast and our pivot down here, and let's just roll this across to the right to open this image out a little bit. Now let's go to our pivot, which is directly across to the right from our contrast. We're just going to roll this down a touch like that. So let's turn this off and on to see where we're at. And you can see that we have compressed that image quite a lot. So I think now we could go back to our exposure and let's just roll up on our gain, which is just over here, just to open that image up a little bit. So now let's turn these two nodes off and on. And you can see that we've taken some of that sharpness out, although there is still a little bit more we can do. So let's head across to our contrast, which is here, and let's just roll our contrast back down a little bit further. And let's just raise this up to about here. So let's just play this through. So let's turn all of these nodes off and on. And you can see that we have softened this image out quite a lot. And the reason we've done this like this is because this is a Rec.709 image and because we do have that breakage here in her face. It's not going to take away that hard edge, but it's going to soften those hard edges on her face. So I'm quite happy where we are, so let's move on. So now let's come down to our lift and we're going to come down towards the cyan in this direction, and we're going to be quite hard with this control and we're going to push that to there. As you can see, it has washed out quite a bit in that cyany blue. So let's go across to our gain, which is over here, and let's just counter that across and push up very gently towards the peachy orangey, I think there. Quite liking her skin tones, however, I think we can just make those pop out a little bit more. So let's head to the gamma and let's just push that up towards the skin tone line, just like so. Let's just turn the color off and on. And you can see we've further softened out that hard edge and that blown out highlights. So if we turn all of these off and on now, you can see that we've softened this image out, and this is the best way to soften out blown out highlights in the face on the Rec.709, because using a key, you're not going to be able to do it that well. So the next thing is this splodge over here, and you can see that is actually baked in to the image. There's two ways of doing it. One is the manual way, one is the patch replacer. We're going to do the patch replacer first, although because this isn't a static shot and it moves quite a lot, I'm not sure if it's going to work, but let's try that. Then let me show you the manual way if that does not work. So what we need to do is we need to come up to our OFX, to our search bar. We need to delete the COL, and we are just going to put PATCH for patch replacer. We're going to drag that and we're going to pop that onto this node here. And as you can see, we've got these two circles that come up to here, and basically where this one goes, it will lead to the other one. For example, we can put a face there. And this is really great because when it comes to something like this, we can take this like so, and we can make this a lot smaller. And then we're going to take this second one and we're just going to bring it very, very close. And now what we need to do is we need to zoom back out. So we're going to come up to here, press this percentage. We're going to zoom back out, press fit. And now we're going to come down to our tracker, which is down here. We're going to click this. We're going to make sure that we're on FX Plus, which we are. We're going to come down to our point tracker. And now we are going to go over to our plus arrow and we're going to click that. And this will bring up a red cross just here. So we're just going to take this and we're going to put this in a place of high contrast. So I think here's pretty good because that is just underneath our splodge. And now we're going to come down to our tracker and press play, and hopefully that tracks really well. It hasn't tracked that well. So let's just go back and forth. And you can see that has not tracked that well at all. So let's try one more time with the AI tracker. So we're going to click there, AI IntelliTrack. Let's bring that back across, and now let's press play to see if that tracks. And again, that hasn't tracked. So what we are going to do is we're going to have to do this manually. So we're going to right click, we're going to reset the node on this one. So in order to do this manually, what we need to do is we need to come down to our circle window, which is here. We're going to press that. And now we're just going to take that across onto our splodge, which is there, dead center, and make that really small. And I think there's good. So I also want to come down to our softness and reduce that softness a touch, but not too much, because we want this to blend in really well. So now that we've done that, our next port of call is to come over to this area here, and this will bring up our sizing. So we're going to click that, and now what we need to do is we need to come down to our key lock to make sure that's clicked on, and it is. And now all we need to do is come across to our tracker, which is just here. So we're going to click that. And now we are going to press play. And hopefully that has tracked really, really well, and it completely hasn't. So what we need to do now is we need to come down to our frame, and this will allow us to set keyframes within this clip. So we're just going to click that, and now we're going to take our power window and we're just going to bring it across to our splodge. Now that we've done that, we need to come back to our playhead, and we're just going to scroll backwards, and we're just going to go back to our power window, and just to make sure it is over that splodge across the full clip. So let's just try that one more time. There we go. And let's just roll back. So let's just play that through to make sure that's there. And it looks like it absolutely is. So the next thing we need to do, let's go across to our tab here. Let's click this. Let's make sure that we have our key lock on, which we have. And what we need to do is with our tilt, we are just going to bring this down very gently to about there. So what that has done, it's taken the inside of that power window and moved everything down, but only that small amount. So when we play this through, what should happen is that splodge has now disappeared. Like so. So that's all we've got time for today. If you are still here and you've been following along, thank you so much. Do remember to subscribe and leave me a comment, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But in the meantime, do check out the episode over here, how to grade Rec.709 footage, and I'll catch you in that next episode. Thank you. Bye bye.